Assalamu alaikum fam, hope you're doing fantastic. So, this is a book I've read a lot already, but I didn't annotate it back in the day, so it'll be like a refresher. It's Suetonius' Lives of the Caesars. I'll read you the back of the book, just a quick little thing, okay? Gaius Suetonius Tranquillus was born around AD 70 and probably died sometime before AD 130 or 140. He may have been born near Modena, Italy. While his father was serving as an officer under Vespasian, he spent at least some of his early years in Rome in the emperor's palace and practiced law very briefly, but found that he was more suited to a life of letters. So, what's cool about this is that he gives a little brief, information about the different Caesars, different leaders of Rome. And as you know, I'm a big nerd for my country's history, and it is very nice to bring some of that into the channel. So, book one, it starts on page one, obviously. He starts with Gaius Julius Caesar, obviously the most famous leader of Rome. So, let's begin with him. And we should learn quite a lot. What I like about this book is that it reads in a very approachable way, and the translators have done a fantastic job. So, we will learn a lot. So, the title of this chapter is The Deified Julius. So, yeah, you already know it's going to be good. So, here we go. In the course of his 16th year, he lost his father, and the next consulate having previously been nominated priest of Jupiter. Okay, so right here already, Caesar's father is dead. He died. And he's been nominated as a priest of Jupiter. And that is a very important position in Roman society. He broke his engagement with Cosutia, so here's one of his women who was going to be with him. Caesar was kind of notorious for having a lot of ladies like him. Obviously, who wouldn't like someone like that? It's not a surprise. A lady of only equestrian rank, but very wealthy, who had been betrothed to him before he assumed the gown of manhood. I believe the purple toga was also another symbol of authority, so the Romans did have a ritual and a process for a man to become a man. It's not like today, right? And married Cornelia, daughter of that Cinna who was 4 times consul. So Cornelia got married to Caesar, right? And then her father was Cinna, who was a consul for 4 times. Very serious. By whom he afterwards had a daughter, Julia. Okay, so Julia is his daughter. That was who married Pompey. I don't know if you remember. So Cornelia is the mother of Julia, who was the daughter of Cinna. You follow? And the dictator Sulla could by no means force him to put away his wife. Okay, so this is something that's interesting. As Sulla was, I really wish there's more information about him. Because, man, that guy sounds so interesting. But apparently he had these lists. And he sent his soldiers out and also told the people of Rome that they had full will to take out the nobles, right? And it's said that he told Caesar, he brought Caesar to him, and that he told him, you need to divorce your wife, and Caesar told Sulla no, right? And then Sulla asked for Caesar to be killed. And then Caesar fled, and Pompey was supposed to be the person who helped Caesar flee, because he respected his bravery in front of Sulla, who was no joke. And then Caesar got captured by pirates, and then he was held ransom by pirates, right? And then later rescued. But that is what he means by when Sulla told him to divorce Cornelia, who, he's with. So, I mean, I wish there was more information about Sulla, but so many documents have been destroyed throughout history. But if that's one person I wish I could read about to get inside the mind of that person, he'd definitely be one of them. Therefore, besides being punished by the loss of his priesthood, his wife's dowry, and his family inheritances, Caesar was held to be one of the opposite party. So here you go. So, lost his priesthood, his wife's dowry, the money, and family inheritances. So already you're seeing how Caesar himself was tried and tested by God. He was indeed a polytheist, but at the same time, God did allow him to survive a lot, and then his death is just like, whoa, being stabbed to death by 12 senators, several of whom you forgave, on the Senate floor, right? I mean, and then as I've read his Gallic Wars, geez, just like surviving so much to make it to the seat of power, and then just to be butchered like a pig and left all over the floor, I mean, that's like, oh, whoa, just wow. He was accordingly forced to go into hiding. So Caesar had to go into hiding. Sulla was not a joke. You can't mess with that dude. And those suffering from severe attack of quarantine argue to change from one covert to another almost every night. So what is he doing? He has to he has to stay on the move, essentially. In and out, ducking and diving. Because people don't remember this, but Sulla put bounties on people as well. And said it was a duty upon every Roman citizen to do harm to anyone whom Sulla decreed. And he would be able to take their possessions. So it's not just that Sulla's going to reward those people, it's that whatever property was yours could be taken. I mean, Rome was not a joke. And save himself from Sulla's detectives by bribes. So Caesar had to bribe to stay safe. Imagine the fear. I mean, just to be hunted like that. I mean, wow. But at last, through the good offices of the Vestal Virgins and of his near kinsmen, so the Vestal Virgins, they were virgins who would tend to a flame night and day and were isolated from men. And apparently some of them would get high on smoke and then be like an oracle, and men and women would go there and listen to them. Completely stupid. But what do you expect from polytheists? Superstitious morons. But, they were not allowed to touch men. Some have argued in history, though, that once they left, they were considered too old to be wives, so they would actually just go back to the Vestal Virgin area. So that's quite interesting. There's a lot that's been written on them, but it's just the ramblings of stupid teenage girls high on drugs. I mean, totally stupid. I have no idea how anyone believed that. And that's why the philosophers of the past used to make fun of them. Like, this is ramblings of insane people, right? So it's very interesting. And of his near kinsman, Aemilius Mamercus. What a beautiful name. Aemilius Mamercus. So powerful name. I freaking love Latin. Oh, if I have sons in the future, God willing, they'll have to have, Islamic names. But if I wasn't a Muslim, I would give them Latin names, right? Italian traditional names, because Mamercus. It's like, the language of Latin is just so powerful, right? And Aurelius Cotta, and he obtained forgiveness. Everyone knows that when Sulla had long held out against the most devoted and eminent men of his party, who interceded for Caesar, and they obstinately persisted, he at last gave way and cried, either by divine inspiration or shrewd forecast. So you see that? Divine inspiration, shrewd forecast. Contrasting opposites. Have your way and take him, only bear in mind that the man you are so eager to save will one day deal the death blow to the cause of the aristocracy, which you have joined with me in upholding. For in this Caesar there is more than one Marius. This is a famous line, okay? This is very famous. That Sulla said that, just reading it gives you goosebumps. Because when Caesar defied Sulla and showed bravery at someone who was ready to execute him, someone who was a formidable conqueror, right? He's saying, okay, you're going to spare Caesar, but he's going to destroy the aristocracy. Think about this. When Caesar came to power, he allowed people who were from the regions he conquered to be into the Senate. And the people who were originally the original Romans, some of the senators did not like that. They're like, oh, the people, they love Caesar too much. He's going to make himself a dictator / king. We are a republic. he's getting too much power, too much love. He's giving too much favors to the people who he's conquered, letting them come into our lands. And we don't like him, and he's going to destroy the aristocracy of old, and he is changing our system. So Caesar did do that, and that is why he was killed, right? One of the reasons why he was killed. So this quote that's attributed to Sulla is very powerful. You know, it's like one of the famous quotes of, like, besides, "Beware the Ides of March," you know, this is something different. But it is very fascinating. Wow. And Marius was an enemy who was killed by Sulla's men, right? He served first campaign in Asia on the personal staff of Marcus Thermus. So here you're hearing about Caesar's one of his campaigns. It was in Asia, and he was part of the staff of Marcus Thermus, who was the governor of a province. Okay, so you're learning a lot about the names here. Being sent by Thermus to Bithynia to fetch a fleet. So a fleet. He dawdled so long at the court of Nicomedes, that he was suspected of improper relations with the king, and he lent color to the scandal by going back to Bithynia a few years after the return with alleged purpose of collecting debt for a freedman, one of his dependents. So this is a dirty slander, right? That Caesar had some relationship with, Nicomedes. It's just, it's a pretty dirty slander, but what do you expect? During the rest of the campaign, he enjoyed a better reputation, and the storming of the Mytilene Thermus awarded him the civic crown. So, he got his glory in that campaign in Asia, right? And Thermus awarded him a civic crown. So already, just within this little bit of area, Caesar has shown that he's tried and tested, right? That he is ready for, to be on the scene. He served under Servilius Isaricus in Sicilia, but only for a short time, for learning of the death of Sulla at the same time, hoping to profit by a counter-revolution. So here you go. So Sulla has died. Caesar is serving under Servilius Isaricus in Sicilia, and now he's like, hey, have a counter-revolution, because as we know, with whoever dies in Rome, there's the chaos that happens. It's just like, one is out, let's, all move in. It's just quite insane. Which Marcus Lepidus was setting on foot. So Marcus Lepidus is trying to do a counter-revolution now that Sulla has died. It is said that several things have been said about how Sulla died. Poisoned and then stabbed in his bathtub. I mean, poison could have been the way. I mean, the Romans did like doing stuff like that, so. Sulla was revered by his men, so you couldn't just start an attack on him, and he was an older man, but he was a hardened fighter. So poison would have been a more slicker way if they could have gotten past any type of tasters. Do you see what I'm saying? He hurriedly returned to Rome, but he did not make common cause with Lepidus, although he was offered highly favorable terms. The lack of confidence, both in that leader's capacity and in the outlook, which he found less promising than he expected. So here, Lepidus, Marcus Lepidus, he's given Caesar good terms, but still, he doesn't have the confidence yet to be like, hey, we're going to just rally to his side. So we have the Mytilene Thermus gave Caesar the civic crown. Caesar went to the court of Nicomedes. Marcus Lepidus wants to have Caesar join in a counter-revolution. Caesar lost his wife's dowry, his family inheritance. He lost his priesthood position. He stood up to Sulla, right? And had to be on the move extensively. So, I mean, already, bam! We just got... Oh, he's such an amazing person. It's like, think about how little we struggle today and how those people of old were tried and tested and what they had to do. I mean, it's quite amazing. So already you learn quite a bit about Gaius Julius Caesar.